When the U.S. arrived, enemy fleets were destroyed in seconds. Part 1: The Siege of Prime. Ambassador stood in the center of the High Council chamber and watched her world die slowly. The holographic displays around her showed 300 warships surrounding Prime. They formed a perfect sphere of death around her planet. No ship could enter. No ship could leave. The siege had lasted 20 days, and supplies would run out in 40 more. The council members sat in their curved seats, their faces showing different shades of fear and despair. They were a peaceful species. They had soft blue skin and large dark eyes that were made for studying stars, not fighting wars. Their alliance included 12 different species, and none of them had built weapons strong enough to break through 300 warships. "We must consider surrender," said Counselor. His voice was tired and old. "They want our resources. If we give them what they want, they might spare our people." Closed her eyes. She had seen what they did to planets that surrendered. They took everything. Resources, technology, people. The survivors became slaves. Death was often kinder than mercy. "Surrender is not an option," she said. "We all know what that means." "Then what do you suggest?" asked. "Our fleet was destroyed in the first battle. Our allies are too far away. They will wait until we starve, and then they will take what they want anyway." The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew he was right. The alliance had existed for 2,000 years. It had brought peace and knowledge to this region of the galaxy. And now it would end, not with a great battle, but with slow starvation and quiet surrender. A door opened at the side of the chamber. A female walked in. She was younger than the council members, and she carried a data tablet in her hands. Her name was, and she was the Alliance's leading scholar on unknown species. "Forgive my interruption," said, "but I may have a solution." Counselor waved his hand dismissively. "Unless you have hidden a fleet somewhere, scholar, I do not see how you can help." "I do not have a fleet," replied, "but I know someone who might." She walked to the central display and connected her tablet. The holographic image changed. Instead of the fleet, it showed a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. "This is Earth," said, "home of a species called humans." Several council members made sounds of disbelief, recognized the planet. The Alliance had discovered humans about 60 years ago. At that time, they had just begun exploring their own solar system. Their technology was primitive. They were short. The Alliance had decided to leave them alone until they developed further. "The humans," said, "they are primitives. They were still burning dead plants for energy when we found them. What could they possibly do against the—" "That was 60 years ago," said. "I have continued to study them since then. Counselor, the humans have changed." She pressed a button on her tablet. The display showed images of human ships. They were not the simple rockets the Alliance had first observed. These were sleek vessels with designs they did not recognize. "Humans develop technology at a rate we have never seen," continued. "In 60 years, they have gone from burning fuel to something else entirely. Our long-range sensors cannot identify their current propulsion systems. They have stopped broadcasting their locations. They have become invisible to our detection methods." "That is concerning, not helpful," said another counselor. "If they have advanced so quickly, they are a threat, not a savior." Stepped forward, she studied the images carefully. "Scholar, why do you believe the humans would help us? We ignored them for 60 years. We offered them nothing. Why would they risk their ships and their people for strangers?" Paused before answering. "I have studied human history extensively, Ambassador. They are a violent species. They have fought terrible wars among themselves. They have caused great destruction on their own world." "This does not fill me with confidence," said. "Let me finish," said. "Despite their violence, humans have a strange quality. When they see others suffering, many of them feel compelled to help. They call it compassion. They have countless stories about heroes who risk everything to save people they have never met. It is central to their culture." "Stories are not reality," replied. Their history shows the same pattern, said. Humans have sent aid to enemies after wars. They have traveled across their world to help strangers during disasters. They form bonds quickly and protect those bonds fiercely. I believe if we ask for help, they will come. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some members called naive. Others said trusting unknown aliens was foolish. A few suggested that even if humans wanted to help, they could not possibly stand against 300 warships. Raised her hand. The chamber slowly fell quiet. We have 40 days of supplies, she said. We have no fleet. We have no allies close enough to help. We have two choices. We can wait to die, or we can ask these humans for help. And if they refuse, asked. Then we are no worse than we are now, said. She turned to. Send the message. Tell them everything. Our situation, our enemy, our location. Tell them we are asking for help and we have nothing to offer in return except our gratitude. Nodded, she walked to the communication console at the edge of the chamber. Her fingers moved across the controls. A coded message began its journey across the stars, traveling through subspace relays toward a small blue planet called Earth. The council watched the message disappear into the darkness of space. None of them believed it would work. The humans were too far away, too primitive, too unknown. The message was a desperate act by desperate people. Far across the galaxy, the signal traveled. It passed through relay stations that had existed for thousands of years. It crossed regions of space where no ship had ever gone. And finally, it reached the edge of human territory. On Earth, deep beneath a mountain range, alarms began to flash in a facility that did not exist on any official record. Technicians rushed to their stations. They decoded the message and read it 3 times to make sure they understood. A distress call. An alien civilization under siege. 300 enemy warships. A request for help from a species that had never contacted humanity before. The technicians sent the message up the chain of command. It passed through generals and admirals. It reached the highest levels of human government. And then it reached a man who had been waiting for exactly this moment. He read the message and smiled. Then he picked up a secure communication device and spoke 4 words. Wake the crew. In a hangar that satellites could not see, lights began to turn on. A ship unlike any other started its awakening sequence. The USS was about to fly. And across the galaxy, an empire that had conquered dozens of worlds was about to learn why humanity had been so quiet for the last 30 years. They had not been primitive. They had been preparing. When the U.S. arrived, enemy fleets were destroyed in seconds. Part 2, the ship that should not exist. Captain Sun walked through the corridors of the USS and felt the ship hum beneath his feet. The sound was different from other vessels. It was deeper, almost like a heartbeat. The ship was alive in ways that engineers still did not fully understand. He had commanded the for 3 years now, but he had never taken it into real combat. The ship was humanity's greatest secret and its most terrible weapon. Every government on Earth knew about conventional warships. Only 7 people knew they existed. The corridor walls were smooth and dark gray. There were no windows. At this depth in space, windows were weaknesses. Instead, screens displayed external views when needed. Right now, they showed the inside of the hidden hangar where they had waited for 30 years. Reached the bridge and stepped inside. His crew was already there, preparing for departure. Commander Park once stood at the tactical station, her fingers moving across holographic controls. She was the finest tactical officer in any fleet, and she had turned down 3 promotions to stay on the captain on the bridge, she announced without looking up. Status report, said as he walked to his command chair. All systems operational, one replied. Fold drive is charged. Collapse drive is armed and ready. Crew is at full strength. We can depart on your order. Sat down and looked around the bridge. Lieutenant Du sat at the weapons station. He was young, only 28, but he had the steadiest hands I'd ever seen. Dr. Han occupied the science station, her white hair tied back in a simple knot. She had invented the collapse drive 20 years ago, and she still did not fully understand how it worked. Sergeant Sung-min stood near the door, his hand resting on a weapon that could cut through starship armor. "Before we depart," said, "I want to speak to the crew." He pressed a button on his chair. His voice echoed through every room on the ship. "This is Captain. In a few minutes, we will travel further than any human ship has gone before. We will enter a war zone. We will face an enemy fleet of 300 vessels. We are one ship." He paused to let that sink in. "This mission is voluntary. Anyone who wishes to leave may do so now. There will be no judgment and no record. We are asking you to risk your lives for people we have never met. That is not a small thing." The bridge was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. "Crew responses coming in," one said after a moment. "All stations report ready. No one is leaving, Captain." Felt a warmth in his chest. He had expected this, but hearing it still moved him. "Very well," he said. "Let us go save some aliens." Dr. Han stood up from her station. "Captain, with your permission, I would like to brief the newer crew members on the collapse drive. Some of them have only read the technical documents." "Go ahead, Doctor." Han walked to the center of the bridge where a holographic display appeared. It showed a simple diagram of the and its primary weapon system. "The collapse drive is not a weapon in the traditional sense," she began. "It does not fire projectiles or energy beams. It creates localized gravitational singularities." Lieutenant raised his hand. "In simple terms, Doctor." Han smiled. "In simple terms, it makes small black holes. They exist for only a fraction of a second, but during that time they pull everything nearby into themselves. Matter, energy, light, nothing escapes. When the singularity collapses, everything it consumed is gone, not destroyed, gone, removed from existence." The bridge fell quiet. Even crew members who had heard this before felt the weight of those words. "How small are these black holes?" asked. "The smallest setting creates a singularity about 1 meter wide. The largest setting can create one over 100 kilometers wide. Today, we will use the smaller settings. We do not want to damage the planet we are trying to save." Stared at his weapons console. His fingers hovered over controls that could erase fleets from reality. "Doctor, should this weapon exist?" Han looked at him with understanding eyes. "I asked myself that question every day while building it. The answer I found was this: the weapon exists precisely so it never needs to be used more than once. Any enemy who sees its power will never test humanity again. We carry this weight so others do not have to." Captain stood from his chair. "Dr. Han is correct. The is not a ship of war. It is a statement. After today, the galaxy will know that threatening innocent people has a cost. That cost is us." He turned to the helm. "Prepare the fold drive. Destination system." The ship began to vibrate. Outside the hidden hangar, doors that had not opened in 30 years slid apart. Sunlight touched the hull for the first time in decades. "Fold drive charged," the helm officer reported. "Take us out of the atmosphere," ordered. "Once we clear the moon's orbit, activate the fold." The rose from Earth like a shadow leaving the ground. It was not a beautiful ship. It was angular and dark, designed for function rather than appearance. Conventional sensors could not track it. Even the most advanced satellites saw only empty sky where they flew. They passed the moon in seconds. The fold drive hummed louder. "We are clear," one announced. "Ready to fold on your command." Looked at his crew. These people had trained for years for a mission they hoped would never come. Now it had come, and none of them had hesitated. "Fold," he said. Space bent around the stars stretched into lines of light. The ship did not move through space. Space moved around the ship. In the time it took to breathe, they crossed 2,000 light years. When the stars returned to normal, they were in a new region of the galaxy. Ahead of them, a blue and green planet hung in space. Around that planet, 300 warships formed a sphere of death. "We have arrived at the system," one reported. Detecting the enemy fleet exactly as described in the distress call. 300 vessels, various sizes. The largest ones are battleships, approximately 2 kilometers long. "Have they detected us?" asked. "Negative. Our stealth systems are holding. They have no idea we are here." Study the tactical display. 300 ships, millions of enemy soldiers. One planet full of innocent people waiting to die. And his ship, the only thing standing between them. "Open a channel to Prime," he said. "Let them know help has arrived." Before one could respond, the tactical display flashed with new information. "Captain, 10 enemy ships are breaking formation. They are moving toward our position." Frowned. "I thought we were undetected." "We are," Han said, checking her sensors. "They are not coming for us specifically. This appears to be a standard patrol pattern. They will pass within scanning range in 4 minutes. If they scan us, they will detect the collapse drive's energy signature," one said. "Our stealth cannot hide that." Made his decision quickly. "Then we will not hide. Commander Park, open a channel to those 10 ships. Let us introduce ourselves." One's fingers moved across her console. "Channel open, Captain." Straightened in his chair. Somewhere out there, enemy commanders were about to receive the strangest message of their lives. "Attention, vessels. This is Captain Sun of the USS, representing the United States of America and the planet Earth. You are conducting hostile operations against a peaceful world. You have one opportunity to withdraw. Take it." The response came quickly. Laughter, harsh, cruel laughter from 10 different ships. "One ship," a voice replied. "One tiny ship threatens us. We will destroy you and feed your remains to our prisoners." Looked at his weapons officer. Lieutenant's hands were steady over his console. "They have made their choice," said quietly. "Show them what that choice costs." Took a breath and pressed a single button. And 10 ships learned why humanity had been so quiet for 30 years. When the U.S. arrived, enemy fleets were destroyed in seconds. Part 3, 10 ships, 10 seconds. The 10 destroyers moved through space in perfect formation. Each ship was massive, nearly 5 times the size of the. Their hulls were covered with weapons. Their commanders had conquered dozens of worlds. They feared nothing. The lead destroyer was commanded by Subcommander. He had received the strange transmission from the tiny alien ship, and he had laughed. 1 vessel against 300. These humans, whoever they were, had come to die. "Target the alien ship," ordered. "Destroy it quickly. I do not want to waste time on primitives." His weapons officer locked onto the targeting system showed a small, dark vessel that registered almost no energy signature. It looked harmless. It looked weak. "Weapons locked," the officer reported, firing. Energy beams lanced out from all 10 destroyers. The attack should have vaporized the instantly. But there was not there anymore. The ship had moved so fast that sensors could not track it. One moment it was in the center of their targeting solutions. The next moment it was behind them. "Where did it go?" shouted. "Unknown. It moved faster than our sensors can." The officer never finished his sentence. On this bridge, Lieutenant Du pressed a single button. The collapse drive activated at its lowest power setting. A point of absolute darkness appeared in the exact center of the formation. For 1 second the black hole existed. It was only 2 meters wide, but its gravity was infinite. Every atom within 500 meters was pulled toward that point. 10 destroyers, built to withstand planetary bombardment, were ripped apart like paper in a hurricane. Metal screamed. Hull plates bent. Ships that had taken years to build were compressed into nothing. 40,000 soldiers died so quickly they never knew what happened. Then the singularity collapsed. It vanished as quickly as it had appeared. When the sensors cleared, there was nothing left. Not wreckage, not debris, not bodies. The 10 destroyers had been erased from existence. Only empty space remained where they had been. The bridge of the was silent. Lieutenant stared at his console. His hands were still steady, but his face had gone pale. He had known what the weapon could do. He had trained with simulations. But simulations did not show the emptiness that remained after. Simulations did not make 40,000 lives disappear in 1 second. Captain Sun sat very still in his command chair. He had given the order. The responsibility was his. "Report," he said quietly. Commander Park 1 checked her tactical display. 10 destroyers destroyed. No survivors. No debris. The enemy fleet is responding. Multiple ships breaking formation. I am detecting communication signals across all frequencies. They are confused. "They should be," Dr. Han said from her station. "They have never seen anything like this. No species has." Sergeant Sungmin stepped forward from his position near the door. "Captain, should we expect retaliation?" Shook his head slowly. "Not yet. They do not understand what happened. They will send more ships to investigate." As if to prove his words, one's console flashed. "Captain, 50 more vessels breaking from the main fleet. They are moving toward our position. Arrival in 6 minutes. 50 ships," whispered. He looked at his console again. At the button he had pressed. One button, 40,000 dead. Now he might have to press it again. Stood from his chair and walked to the weapons station. He placed a hand on shoulder. "Lieutenant," he said, "do you know why we chose you for this position?" Shook his head. "Because you feel the weight of it," said. "A person who could do this easily would be dangerous. You feel each death. That is good. That is human, but we are here because people need our help. They will die if we do not act. We carry this weight so they do not have to." Took a deep breath, his hands steadied. "I understand, Captain." Returned to his chair. Commander Park opened a channel to the approaching fleet, broadcast on all frequencies. One nodded, channel open. Spoke clearly and calmly. "Attention, vessels. You have just witnessed the destruction of 10 of your ships. This is not a weapon you can defend against. This is not a battle you can win. I am offering you one chance to withdraw. Leave this system. Do not return. If you continue your approach, you will share the fate of your comrades." The channel remained silent for a long moment. Then a harsh voice responded. "This is High Commander of the Empire. I do not know what trick you used to destroy my ships, but tricks do not win wars. You are one vessel. I have 300. You will die screaming, and I will personally eat your heart." Did not react to the threat. "High Commander, I am not bluffing. I am not tricking you. Your 10 ships no longer exist. There is no wreckage to recover. There are no survivors to rescue. They are simply gone. The same will happen to your 50 ships if they continue approaching. And then I will do the same to your entire fleet." Laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Bold words for a dead man. Continue your approach. Destroy this fool." The channel closed. On the tactical display, 50 ships continued toward the. They spread out as they came, trying to approach from multiple angles at once. "They think numbers will help them," one observed. "Numbers mean nothing against the collapsed drive," Han said. "They could send all 300 ships. The result would be the same. Watch the approaching fleet. We will give them one more chance. When they enter weapons range, we will destroy 10 more ships. Then we will ask again." Looked up from his console. "Only 10, Captain. If we destroy all 50 at once, they will have nothing left to retreat with. I want survivors. I want them to go back to their fleet and tell the others what they saw. Fear is more useful than death." The 50 ships entered weapons range. The moved again, faster than sensors could track. It appeared behind the formation, then beside it, then above it. They could not get a target lock. "Activating collapse drive," announced. "Minimum power, targeted deployment." He pressed the button 10 times in rapid succession. 10 points of darkness appeared throughout the formation. 10 more ships were erased. The remaining 40 vessels scattered in panic. "Hold fire," ordered. On the bridge of his flagship, High Commander watched his display with growing horror. 20 ships gone. Not damaged, not disabled. Gone. His sensors showed nothing where they had been. It was as if they had never existed. "What is that weapon?" he demanded. His science officer shook his head. "Unknown, High Commander. The energy signature is unlike anything in our records. It appears to create some form of gravitational anomaly. Our shields would be useless against it." Gripped the arms of his command chair. He had conquered 23 worlds. He had killed billions. He had never felt fear in battle. He felt it now. On Prime, the High Council watched censored data in disbelief. Ambassador stood in the center of the chamber, tears running down her face. Scholar was beside her, hands trembling as she studied the readings. 20 ships, whispered, destroyed in seconds, 1 human vessel, just 1. "Is this real?" asked. "Are the humans really here?" "They are here," confirmed. "And they are doing exactly what I hoped they would. They are protecting us." Looked at the sensor display. The tiny human ship was like a ghost among the enemy fleet. It moved faster than anything they had ever seen. Its weapon erased ships from existence. "Scholar," said slowly, "when we first discovered humans, we thought they were primitives. We ignored them. We left them alone because we thought they had nothing to offer." "Yes, Ambassador. We were wrong," turned to face the council. "We were very, very wrong, and now these primitives have come to save us without asking for anything in return." She looked back at the display. The human ship was waiting. It was giving them a chance to retreat. "What have the humans become?" asked softly. Shook her head. "I do not know, but I think the galaxy is about to find out." On the captain opened another channel to High Commander. "You have seen what my weapon can do," he said. "I have destroyed 20 of your ships. I can destroy the rest just as easily, but I would rather not. Leave now, take your fleet and go. This is your final warning." The galaxy held its breath, waiting for response. When the U.S. arrived, enemy fleets were destroyed in seconds. Part 4: The Weight of Power. High Commander stared at the tactical display and saw his empire's future disappearing. 20 ships gone. No wreckage, no survivors, just empty space where his warriors had been. For 30 years they had conquered without resistance. They had crushed civilizations. They had enslaved billions. No one had ever made them retreat, had personally ordered the destruction of entire planets. He was the most feared commander in 3 sectors. And now a single alien ship was asking him to leave. His officers watched him, waiting for orders. He could see the fear in their eyes. They had seen the same sensor data. They knew what that human weapon could do. Some of them wanted to run. He could feel it. But running was not possible. They did not retreat. If he fled from one ship, every conquered world would hear about it. Rebellions would start. His empire would crumble. He had no choice but to fight. "All ships," commanded, "attack the human vessel. Surround it completely. It cannot destroy us all before we destroy it." 280 ships began to move. The entire fleet abandoned its siege formation and surged toward the. It was the largest concentration of firepower had ever assembled. On this bridge, Commander Park 1 watched the display with calm eyes. "The entire fleet is coming, Captain. 280 vessels. Arrival in 8 minutes." Captain nodded slowly. He had hoped would see reason. He had been wrong. "Dr. Han, what power setting will we need to engage the full fleet?" Han checked her calculations. "If we use maximum power, we can create a singularity large enough to destroy all of them at once. But the gravitational effects would destabilize Prime's orbit. Millions would die from the environmental changes." "That is not acceptable. What are our other options?" We can use medium power settings and destroy them in groups, 10 to 20 ships at a time. It will take longer, but the planet will be safe. Turned to his weapons officer. Lieutenant, can you handle that? His face was pale, but his hands were steady. Yes, Captain, I can handle it. The fleet entered weapons range. They came from every direction, surrounding the completely. Energy beams and missiles filled space around the tiny human ship. But that was never where they expected. It moved like nothing they had ever seen. Their weapons hit empty space. Their targeting systems locked onto shadows. The ship was everywhere and nowhere at once. Activating collapse drive, said. Medium power, sequential targeting. Points of darkness bloomed throughout the formation. Ships vanished. Groups of 10 and 20 were erased in seconds. The fleet scattered, regrouped, and attacked again. It made no difference. The move too fast. Its weapon could not be stopped. 4 minutes into the battle, 100 ships were gone. On the bridge, Lieutenant's hands never stopped moving. Each button press killed thousands. Each activation of the collapse drive erased warriors who had families, histories, lives. He did not hesitate. He could not afford to hesitate. But with each death, something inside him grew heavier. 120 destroyed, Commander Park reported. 160 remaining. Sergeant Sung-min watched carefully. He saw the young man's jaw tighten. He saw the slight tremor that was starting in his shoulders. After the battle, there would be time to help him carry this weight. Right now, they needed him functional. Moved to stand beside the weapons station. He did not speak. He simply placed a hand on his shoulder and left it there, a reminder that he was not alone. Glanced up briefly, something in his eyes softened. Then he returned to his work. The battle continued, ships died, the fleet grew smaller. On his flagship, High Commander watched his empire's power vanish. 150 ships gone. He had started with 300. Now he had less than half, and he had not even scratched the human vessel. High Commander, his first officer said carefully, we should consider retreat. We cannot win this battle. I will not retreat from one ship, shouted. It is not about pride, Commander. It is about survival. If we die here, who will lead our people? Who will protect our worlds? Wanted to argue. He wanted to order the attack to continue until victory or death. But he looked at the tactical display. 140 ships remaining. The human weapon showed no signs of weakening. If this continued, he would have nothing left. All ships, he said, his voice heavy with defeat. Begin withdrawal, fall back to space. The remaining ships started to turn. The siege of Prime was ending. But one officer refused to obey. Warlord commanded 30 ships. He was most aggressive subordinate, famous for his brutality. When he heard the retreat order, his face twisted with rage. Retreat, he snarled. We do not retreat, not from primitives, not from anyone. Warlord, you will obey my orders, said. Your orders are cowardice. You disgrace our empire. Cut off the communication. He turned to his fleet. All ships under my command follow me. We will destroy these humans or die with honor. 30 ships broke from the retreating fleet. They charged toward the at maximum speed. On this bridge, one frowned at her display. Captain, the main fleet is retreating, but 30 ships are continuing their attack. They are accelerating to ramming speed. Stood from his chair. Open a channel to those ships. Channel open. Attention vessels, your fleet is retreating. The battle is over. Stand down. His face appeared on the main screen. His eyes were wild with hatred. Stand down. We would rather die than flee from creatures like you. I do not want to kill you, said calmly. You have already lost. There is no honor in dying for nothing. There is no honor in living as cowards, screamed. All ships attack, destroy them. The 30 ships continued their charge. Their weapons fired continuously, filling space with energy and projectiles. They dodged everything, but the ships kept coming. His fingers hovered over his console. Captain, they will reach us in 40 seconds. Should I engage? Watched the charging ships. He saw warriors throwing their lives away for pride. He saw young soldiers following orders they could not refuse. He saw death approaching, and he did not want any more of it. Hold fire, he said. Captain, one turned to look at him. I said hold fire, walked toward the main screen. Warlord, listen to me. I have killed over 150 of your ships today. I do not want to kill any more. You are soldiers following orders. You have families. You have lives. I do not want to take those from you. Laughed bitterly, pretty words from a murderer. I am a murderer, agreed. I have killed more people today than I can count, but I am trying to end this battle, not extend it. Stand down. Take your ships and join the retreat. I give you my word that I will not pursue. The channel fell silent. His face showed confusion, anger, and something else, something that might have been doubt. Why would you spare us? Asked. You have the power to destroy everything. Why hold back? Took a deep breath. Because power without restraint is not strength, it is cruelty. I came here to protect not to destroy your people. The battle is over. Let it end. 20 seconds until the ships reached the hands tensed over his console. Captain, one said quietly, if they do not stop, we will have to defend ourselves. I know, did not look away from the screen, but I will give them until the last possible moment. 15 seconds, 10, 5. Warlord made his decision. All ships stand down, full stop. The 30 ships slowed. Their weapons fell silent. They hung in space, surrounded by the debris of their fallen fleet, and waited. On this bridge, Lieutenant let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. His hands finally began to shake. Captain Sun closed his eyes for just a moment. Then he straightened and addressed his crew. The battle is over. Set course for Prime. It is time to meet the people we came to save. The moved past the remaining ships. It did not fire. It did not threaten. It simply flew toward the planet below, where millions of beings waited to see who had saved them. Behind them, Warlord watched the human ship go. He had come to die. Instead, he had been offered mercy. He did not understand these humans, but he knew one thing. He would never forget them. When the U.S. arrived, enemy fleets were destroyed in seconds. Part 5, Legacy of the descended through the atmosphere of Prime, and millions of beings watched it come. The sky turned dark as the ship passed overhead. It was not a large vessel by galactic standards, but it seemed enormous. This tiny ship had destroyed 200 warships in less than an hour. This tiny ship had saved their civilization. The capital city's main plaza had been cleared for the landing. Crowds gathered at the edges, pressing against security barriers. Ambassador stood at the center of the plaza with the High Council behind her. Scholar waited beside her, holding a translation device in trembling hands. The touched down with barely a sound. Its landing was gentle, almost polite. Steam rose from the plaza floor where the ship's hull met the surface. For a long moment, nothing happened. The crowd held its breath. The council members shifted nervously. Then a door opened in the side of the ship. Captain Sun walked out first. He was smaller than they had expected. Humans were short, soft-skinned creatures with no natural weapons. They had no claws, no armored plates, no venom. They looked fragile, breakable. Commander Park One followed, then Lieutenant Du, Dr. Han, and Sergeant Sungmin. The bridge crew of the stood in the afternoon light of an alien world and faced millions of beings they had never met. Stepped forward. Her hearts were beating so fast she could barely speak. She had prepared words, elegant phrases of gratitude and diplomacy. But when she opened her mouth, only simple words came out. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for coming." Bowed his head slightly. "You called for help, we heard, we came." "We have nothing to offer you in return," continued. "We are a peaceful people. We have no wealth compared to great empires. We cannot repay what you have done." We did not come for payment. Looked around at the crowds, at the buildings, at the sky. We came because you needed help. That is reason enough. Felt tears forming in her eyes. In 2,000 years of history, no species had ever helped them without expecting something in return. Alliances were built on trade, on mutual benefit, on calculated advantage. But these humans had traveled across the galaxy for nothing more than a cry for help. Scholar stepped forward. Her voice was quiet but steady. Captain, I am the one who sent the message to Earth. I studied your species for many years. I thought I understood humans, but after today I realize I understood nothing. What do you mean? Asked. Your ship destroyed 200 warships. Your weapon erased entire crews from existence. You have power that could conquer our world, our alliance, perhaps this entire region of space. Paused, choosing her words carefully. But you offered mercy to your enemies. You let them retreat. You even spared the ships that attacked you. I do not understand this. Dr. Han answered before could speak. You have studied human technology, scholar, but have you studied human history? Some of it. I know your people have fought many wars among yourselves. We have, Han agreed. Terrible wars, wars that killed millions. We have done horrible things to each other throughout our existence, but we have also done something else. After every war, we have reached out to our enemies. We have rebuilt their cities. We have fed their children. We have chosen to heal instead of continuing to destroy. Consider this. Why your enemies tried to kill you, why help them afterward? Because we know what hatred costs, Han said. We have lived with it for thousands of years. We know that killing never truly ends conflict. It only creates more enemies, more hatred, more death. The only way to truly win is to stop making enemies. Captain stepped forward. They attacked because they believed they were stronger. Today, they learned that strength alone is not enough. But if we had destroyed their entire fleet, killed every soldier, they would have rebuilt and returned for revenge. Instead, we showed them mercy. We showed them that humans are not just strong. We are willing to stop fighting when the battle is over. Ambassador nodded slowly. You believe that will change because of what happened today? Not immediately, admitted. Fear fades with time, but mercy is harder to forget. Some of those soldiers will remember that a human ship had the power to destroy them and chose not to. That memory might change how they think about war. It might change how they think about enemies. The crowds were beginning to murmur. Word of the conversation was spreading through translation devices. Millions were hearing human philosophy for the first time. A young child broke free from the crowd and ran toward the human visitors. Security officers moved to stop her, but raised a hand. The child skidded to a halt in front of Lieutenant. Did you really destroy 200 ships? The child asked, her large eyes wide with wonder. Looked down at her. He remembered every activation of the collapse drive, every button press, every life erased. The weight of it sat heavy on his shoulders. Yes, he said quietly, I did. Were you scared? Knelt down so he could look the child in the eyes. Yes, I was very scared. Not of dying, I was scared of what I was doing, scared of how easy it was to destroy so much. Then why did you do it? Glanced back at his captain, then he looked at the child again. Because if I did not, that would have hurt you and your family. Sometimes we do scary things to protect people who cannot protect themselves. That is what humans do. The child thought about this for a moment. Then she reached out and touched his hand. Thank you for being scared for us. Felt something break inside him, not in a bad way, in a way that let light in. He had carried the weight of 200 ships, and a child had just made it lighter. You are welcome, he said. Ambassador watched this exchange with tears flowing freely down her face. She turned to face the High Council. I hereby propose full alliance status with Earth, she announced. Not for their weapons, not for their technology, for who they are. The alliance has found something rare in this galaxy. We have found friends. The council voted unanimously to accept. Hours later, as celebrations began across the planet, Captain stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city. Commander Park 1 joined him. "The council wants us to stay longer," she said. "They want to learn more about Earth, about humans." "We can stay a few days," replied, "but they cannot remain here forever. There may be others who need help." One nodded. "Do you think they will return?" "Eventually, but not for a long time, and when they do, they will have friends." Looked up at the alien stars. "That is what we do, Commander. We make friends, we build alliances. We show the galaxy that humanity is not a threat to peaceful species. We are a threat to those who threaten the peaceful." Below them, children were learning human games from crew members. Scientists were exchanging knowledge with Dr. Han. Soldiers were sharing stories with Sergeant. Two species that had never met before today were becoming something new together. They rested in the plaza, its dark hull reflecting the lights of celebration. It was a weapon of terrible power, but its crew had shown that power was not the point. The point was what you did with power. And today, humanity had shown the galaxy what it chose to do. 3 months later, reports began arriving from across the region. They had withdrawn from 7 conquered worlds. Their new high commander, a warrior named, had declared that the Empire would seek trade instead of conquest. When asked why, gave the same answer every time. "Because the humans showed us there is another way, and because if we return to our old ways, they will return too." On Earth, in the hidden hangar beneath the mountains, they waited for its next mission. Its crew trained and prepared and hoped they would never be needed again. But if someone called for help, they would go. Because that is what humans do. They answer,